Happy Friday, Weekend Warriors. Weekendology is back with a brand new episode to ease your weekly woes. We're the only podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. This is the show where we talk about music, movies, sports, and more related to media, and how we give our takes how to change and improve them. So I'm your host, Will Dicely, alongside the one and only Aaron Berg. Aaron, what's going on today, bud?
I'm ready to rock. How about you?
I'm ready to roll. We're rolling on to episode 22. We appreciate everybody joining back again with another episode. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. I want to give a big shout out to our last guest, Colin Kessler of Big Red World. He was on our last episode. We talked about how startup media companies are changing the way we consume news and info. Go give them a follow on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. Also, be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at Weekendology Pod, and wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the whole 9 yards here. So, Aaron, we're on to episode 22. We've got a really cool guest planned for today. How excited are you for this one?
I love music episodes.
Excellent.
And we got two guests, too.
Yeah,
that's the best part.
We have two guests, too. So we're back in the realm of music today, as Aaron said. We've got a really cool guest planned. And we've talked with different musicians in the past, too. We've had Kaylee Wolf of Rivals on not too long ago. We had SoundCloud artist Bonus Points on before, talking about the whole streaming realm and breaking into that as well. We wanted to continue this series as we look at a rising band from St. Louis, Missouri. Our guests are the lead singer and guitarist of the band The Wild and Free. They have over 7,700 followers on Instagram and social media, with 913 monthly viewers on Spotify. They've recorded with Damian Keys and multi-platinum record producer Matt Squire, who's helped produce albums for Panic! In the Disco and Ariana Grande. They also have a new album on Spotify called Out of Time. Please welcome Michael Henthorn and Rachel Greco. How's everybody doing today?
What's going on?
Hello, hello.
We're happy to have you guys on, and just to kind of give you guys some background as well. Mike and I went to high school together. We're longtime friends from back in St. Louis, and when I heard your first song for Wild and Free, I was kind of blown away, and every since then, I've been a huge fan of you guys. So it's a real honor to have you guys on today's episode. So appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. It's funny you mentioned that because I just remembered that as you were calling me just a few minutes ago, where I think I had Drowning on my phone and never really knew myself. This is, I think, before we had Mark in the band.
Yep.
And you were literally one of the first humans. I was driving to the airport who I showed that song to, and you were so positive about it. And it was a new band for me, so I was kind of unsure, where it was going to go, if it was any good. And you were so into it. It made my day. And I'm going to say because of that is the reason we're.
Well, perfect. I'll take that. Yeah, that's amazing. And I know it was true. You showed me the songs, and I was really blown away about how unique your style was, how intricate, how you guys were able to pull things together. And that's why I love covering bands on the show. Is it's such a great treat to hear your story, how you started it up, and you guys are kicking ass. So we're happy to have you.
Yeah, I was amazed when Will told me his high school buddy was in a band. I was like, oh great, this is gonna be
another high school band.
Yeah, I was like, and then he played your music, and I was just like, no way, this isn't it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's actually mastered, and you could tell you wrote your lyrics ahead of time, and you had a real band. It wasn't just we recorded it on our phone in the garage or something. You guys were legit. So.
Yeah. And I, like you said, Aaron, it's just there's so many different types of rock bands. It's not just another high school band out there. You guys are really taking off. It's hopefully turning into more of a career for you guys too. So I want to ask, how did you guys get into starting to play music, and what each of your musical backgrounds are?
Yeah, Rachel, why don't you take this one? Start us off.
Well, hello. My musical background starts about when I was 7. I believe. I've been singing for a while because I am now 24 years old. I started writing songs back in that time, 7 and a half, I don't know. But I always just had a love for music. I always had a love for the piano as well. About, I think, 10 or 11, I started doing covers. I actually created a YouTube for myself. It was called Rachel Greco Music. That's actually still up there if you ever decide to check it out. kind of embarrassing content, but I just left it up.
Oh, nothing's embarrassing, so we're definitely plugging
it's better
that
than we could
linking
sing,
that.
so.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We have no musical ability whatsoever, so you got us there.
But yeah, I did the covers on YouTube for a couple years, and always had originals in mind. I never really put them out into the open until, I believe, 16. Yeah, in high school, I had my first song. I posted it, and yeah, it just took off from there. I realized I really just loved writing music. I never wanted to give it up. And I actually did have a band before the Wild and Free. It was Sail Through Storms. It wasn't the right time to start a project, and I'm thankful that I knew that. And yeah, I am in a new band now, the Wild and Free, almost 2.5, 3 years, and we're still kicking butt.
So how did that start, the first band? You know, you said you were doing covers. I mean, did someone see your covers and say, hey, we're starting a band, or was it just your friends coming together to start kind of in high school, or what was the story there?
Yeah, so Sails Through Storms started as a high school band project, yes. One of my friends, he was in my grade. We were pretty well known of each other, and he's like, hey, you know what? I see your covers all the time because I did post them on, Facebook, all the social media stuff. Like, my classmates were aware that I really liked doing that kind of thing. And, he at the time wanted to start something, some sort of project, didn't know what direction to turn. And he asked me for advice, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's start something. Let's start a band. But, we were a little bit naive. We didn't know how everything works in the music scene, and it just kind of didn't go well. The band itself only lasted for, I think, 3 months. It didn't last long at all. Although I did have an EP in the works, I was like, me and my little songwriter brain, I had like 4 or 5 songs ready to go. I was like, I want to go to a studio. I want to do this, that, and this. But at the time, I didn't know how any of that stuff worked, so they were just like, little dreams. But, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I did go to school with the guy in the band, and we just talked it out, and we were friends, and we're still friends now, but it was just a little high school project that didn't go anywhere.
Well, Wild and Free is definitely not a high school project, and I like how you guys you had aspirations to do something serious, and then now you guys are actually achieving that as well with this band. And Mike, back in high school, you had a previous band called Captains Courageous. I was a big fan of that one as well. But what's been your experience with trying to find the right mix of people to join this band, and why do you think it's been so successful or so popular right off the bat?
I'd say you nailed it, just finding the right people. I think if with anyone starting a new band, they ask, how do you do it, or where do you start? That's the first thing I kind of warn them about. I go, just make sure you find people or a group of people that have the exact same goals as you do. It's so important. And with this band, the chemistry and the people are just right. I don't know what happened to let it get so perfect. Maybe it was just trial and error, but for whatever reason, this band, like Greco said, has been going on for about 2.5 years now, and it's the original lineup. Usually you have like a drummer quit or a new singer or a new bass player or whatever. Like, I think Captains, we made it to like the 5th drummer. Like, it was just, it honestly, like, there were so many lineup changes. And with this band, it's all original members, and everyone seems to get along, and it just seems to work. So yeah, I'm very, very blessed and thankful for it.
Well,
I feel like I feel like a big part of that is we were all in bands before, and we kind of saw how the scene worked. Well, I mean, most of us did. I kind of had a vision of what I wanted, but it never worked. But the fact that we were all in bands before and we all kind of had somewhat of experience does help, because I know if you're just starting a band, not everything is easy at first, and you don't always know what direction. And if you don't have the right people, like Mike said, things get destroyed pretty fast. People get petty, egos are high, all that nonsense. But the fact that all 5 of us came together is kind of a miracle. Like, it honestly is, and I'm really happy that it's happened that way.
Yeah, how did that come about? Because I mean, that's something I've found so fascinating in rock music, especially. You have 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 people together in a band, and all creative minds, all different ways of how to market the band, or how to write your music, or how to tour. There's so many decisions that you have to collaborate and compromise on, and then you throw in egos too, especially if you get bigger. I mean, how did you guys find each other and find that synergy to stick together and I guess put your egos aside too and just come together collectively and maintain that?
Yeah, thankfully no one. Of course, we're going to say we don't have egos, but
Mike's got a giant ego. It's impossible to get over it. So.
We're huge jerks.
You know who I am,
right? But honestly, with past bands, I think we've all experienced this. Just in our own ways, whatever. Egos happen so quickly, and it breaks bands up all the time, or what have you. But everyone in this band, I think we're just very focused on the bigger picture. Where if you have an ego, or if you start to get a big head, we knock you down pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
Maybe Rachel gets the brunt of it. Not saying she's got an ego, but I think she gets teased the most.
Oh yeah.
So, we all humble each other, and like Rachel said, we've all been in bands prior to this, and I think we know a lot of the pitfalls. I know myself. I'm super sensitive to any sort of drama that can arise. I think I'm very aware of how sensitive bands are. And how easily they can break up. My last band, I wanted that band to be the biggest band in the world. And when that stopped, maybe made me a little crazy of just trying to make sure everyone in the band was good and that everyone was, it feels like they're, not getting their feelings hurt or that they're being taken care of. So, and I think everyone does a good job about that in the band. We're just all kind of a weird family. Like all 5 people are so different, and I would say even the first year of the band, it did not feel like a band at all. Like
it felt like a group gathering.
It really did. Like the band did not gel right away. I think that's important to note. Like we were so different, but we were still working towards a goal. But I'd say after maybe the first anniversary of the band, like everything just clicked. And then we started to work on our record, and then things just started to take off. So we definitely had to fight for it, but once it gelled, the chemistry was really solid.
So how did you find each other? How did you all come together since you're all, different and from different bands and different backgrounds?
Yeah, sure. So Dan, the other guitar player, and myself, we were both in Captain's Courageous, and we decided that band wasn't going to have the legs that it needed to make it a success. We had an option of either quit music or try and start from complete scratch, which at the time seemed almost
devastating. Imagine.
It was that we both tried that night. We got drunk off we got drunk off Great Bombs. We watched the movie with The Rocker with Rainn Wilson.
Nice.
True story.
Awesome.
And we're
story.
like the band's ending. It's not going to happen. And we're drunk and holding each other like, oh, it's all ruined. And we were watching The Rocker, totally inspired. The movie was amazing. And we decided let's give it one more push, and we literally broke out a legal pad and just wrote everything we wanted the band to be. That being like a female fronted singer, like a kick-ass drummer, and how the look would be just exactly what we wanted to achieve with the band. And we're still working towards that, but we feel like we're getting better at it. And we just had a mission. Shortly after, we found Rachel from, I think just Dan set a Facebook status trying to find a singer. And I guess you sent him an audition video.
Yeah.
And I was in Florida at the time, and Dan sent it to me, and we had to be in the studio in a week to work on some demos. And I was like, yep, I guess she'll do. I don't know her, but we'll try it. And she came to the studio and just completely nailed it. And all right, well, we'll try her. And then Mark, our drummer, his older brother hit me up asking if he can audition. He told me at the time he was 17, so I told him no. Yeah, I said he's too young. This band is, it needs to be serious. Only serious people can audition, which was the dumbest thing I think I've ever said, because shortly after that, he sent me a video, and he's amazing. He's probably.
He just didn't want any of us.
I kept saying no.
Mike was really picky about the band, and
he was trying to do a solo act.
Yeah, he was just like, I really want to go solo and just make it big.
Solo. What?
You're just gonna name it Henthorn, just like Daughtry, just have the band be your last name.
It definitely would have been better for sure. No, it was just funny though that the first people to audition were just the right people. It was kind of crazy. Rachel was perfect and she was great in the studio, and then Mark just like fell into our laps. And he's like by far the best musician in the band. And Zach actually used to play with Captains for a little bit. So when we finally decided we needed a bass player, we thought of Zach, and he was super into it and wanted to do it. And it all just kind of worked. It was really odd how it all fell into place, but it was really easy. That's
incredible too. And I love hearing the stories and about the inspirations of what you guys do or how you're able to come together as well. And obviously, the members of the band are one thing, but you have to have a good kind of cultural musical identity as well. You guys have this collective pop rock band persona, but I think you really got to put a great emphasis on individual performances as well. What was the influence behind, your style of music and, coming up with your own unique identity for it?
Yeah, originally we were more poppy. Like the Sugar High EP was very we kind of called it indie pop.
Yeah, we were kind of shooting for the indie style music for a little bit, which was cool, but we decided it wasn't what we truly wanted. In our hearts, we didn't feel it. We wanted to rock it up, and thank God we did.
Yeah, we were kind of writing music that we still love, and we still play those songs, and we do like them, but it wasn't 100% what we wanted to sound like. And then I think where it kind of changed is I got hired from a third party, completely opposite of the Wild and Free, to write a song called Werewolf Heart for this random Halloween project. Really cool deal. And I decided to bring Rachel on because I wanted her to do the vocals, but it wasn't going to be a Wild and Free song. And we wrote a song called Werewolf Heart. You can check it out on our YouTube. And I showed it to our guitar player, Dan. He kind of just looked at me. He's like, why don't we sound like that? He's like, that's awesome. And I was like, no, it's too rock heavy. That's just something that I would want to write, if I wasn't in the band, which was the weirdest thing that I said that came out of my mouth. I was like, well, if that's what I want to write, that's what we should kind of tailor our sound towards. And Rachel agreed. And then the next song we wrote was our song Fire that Rachel wrote. And after we recorded that song, I think that's when we all kind of looked at each other and was like, this is our sound. Because that incorporated the rock, but it still had the pop synth abilities that Rachel really digs, and we kind of felt like we finally had that nice blend.
So are you guys signed right now?
Nope.
Oh, totally independent. Okay. No, that's good. I think that's the way to go. Just how the way music's gone. I mean, it's all touring. That's really it. I mean, it's so saturated too, and especially rock music not being the number one genre in the world right now. I mean, you could argue, I think it is, but the popular opinion says otherwise. But how has that been navigating the independent waters and trying to promote yourself and get yourself out there without someone above you telling you what to do and guiding you more?
I mean, it's not easy, but honestly, I don't think I would have been happy with it if we would have had somebody on us, controlling us in a way. The fact that we are self-funded completely, individuals is so freeing, and, we're able to do so many more things, and, we're finally, gaining that momentum. So we're getting more opportunities, and if we would have had somebody, over our shoulder, I don't think things would have went as well as they have, and I don't think future things would go the way that they may go. Not giving any surprises away.
No, I think that's a good point too, because there's a lot of bands who are trying to make it. I think there's a lot of bands in your shoes right now. You're on the cusp of something great, but you're still independent. You're still quite new, but you're good enough to get to that next stage. How are you guys kind of staying relevant or being innovative with your music and your brand that separates yourselves from others?
Yeah, I think we're just trying to work ourselves to death, honestly.
That's always a great plan, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, right. We don't know. We'll let you know how it goes. But I mean, the mission right now is to release a new song along with as creative as we can, new music video that accompanies that song every 7 weeks until we just can't stand it anymore. We've been doing that since April of last year, and it seems to be working really well. Like Rachel said, we can kind of do whatever we want, which is really kind of awesome. Like there's no third parties at all telling us we should sound like this or we shouldn't do that for a video. Like if we have an idea, we can pursue it. If we have a show we want to play, we can play it. And at the end of the day, like as much as we kind of say, like, wouldn't it be great to be signed? A label is just a bank, with a loan, with scary pitfalls that we could fall into. So there's so much in today's day and age that we can do on ourselves. So as long as we can find a way to keep making money and make it profitable, we're going to keep doing that. So we're definitely open to label suggestions. But right now, we're loving the independence we got.
So you guys are trying to make, I'm sure you're trying to make a lot of connections and just guerrilla marketing yourselves, really. How is it being from St. Louis, being in the Midwest? I know St. Louis is a good music scene, especially, it's pretty good for rock music, but it's not LA, it's not New York, it's not the coast or anything like that. So what's that been like, and how do you think that's helped and hurt you in the process of trying to break out?
I think the St. Louis music scene is fantastic. Like, if you're in Nashville, you can only imagine how much that's oversaturated, and maybe the same thing with LA, I'm not sure. But there's so many great rock bands in St. Louis, and any one of them could have been a top 40 rock band, 10, 15 years ago before everything kind of crashed. But yeah, it's fantastic for rock and roll and hip hop, and we're definitely happy to be a very small part of it. As far as connections go, I mean, we make a lot of our connections just through social media. It's really cool to see how many people respond back to a message. I mean, that's how we reached out to Ryan from Story of the Year to take our photos, and he had no problem with it and was like the nicest guy ever, and that was just a message that we sent trying to get that going. And we've made a lot of our connections that way. So we love St. Louis, and we're definitely happy with the way things are going now.
That is my favorite band.
Yeah, I was just going to say
I love Story. I'm the biggest Story of the Year fan that is not from St. Louis.
I knew the Story of the Year that was going to come up, and I wanted to see what Aaron's reaction was, and I knew it was going to be
Ryan Phillips.
Great. So that's awesome.
Dude, Ryan Phillips, like that guy, he is so handsome. And
Ninja Warrior.
He was on Ninja Warrior, and of course, like we all grew up listening to the Story, and then he's taking your photos, and then you got to somehow act like it's not a rock star.
That's what all of them. All
hey guys, don't act weird.
Don't act weird. Yeah, but
it's
Zach
crazy.
Like, so weird.
It's too bad though. Like I wish they would tour. That's a thing. Like I really miss that band, and I think it's so special with how friendly they are and how giving they are to the music community. I really wish they would get back kind of into the scene and be more visible, because they could help a lot of people. But I mean, it's good to hear they're helping you guys and helping the St. Louis scene at least.
Yeah. Mike, you mentioned social media has been such like a big part of you guys' success and everything, and we talked with other artists as well on some other episodes about how streaming has kind of changed the game for them, how music is consumed as well. We talked with a big SoundCloud artist, Bonus Points. He's actually from St. Louis as well, from Chesterfield. Yeah. He's a really good SoundCloud artist. Check him out. He's got more of like chill hop, lo-fi type of stuff, but really great style of music as well. We interviewed Instagram model Talia Paris, and she's also a SoundCloud artist as well. Kaylee Wolf of Rivals also streams everything. How do bands make it today, and how do you guys win with such a saturated market in streaming? And how are you branding yourselves on social media?
I stay just trying our best to stay as active as possible. Obviously, we're still trying to figure it out.
And also, like, I know, it's like you think you know something, and then the algorithm, like, changes on you. It's always, like, I kind of, like, think of it this way. There's so many iPhones. The second you get an iPhone, there's another iPhone. And you're like, oh, wait, I thought I got the newest thing, but then there's something else. There's something new. So it's kind of like that for social media. Like, every time you think you know it all, there's more, or it like flips on you. So we're still trying to figure it all out. But I think like a very important thing about this is like showing that we are people, like, trying to be as real as possible. Like, you know, like, it's just, you got to be authentic. You got to be different, but you also have to be real. That's kind of how I just think of it.
Yeah, I agree. And do you guys run your own social media then, or do you have a manager who runs that? How does that work?
We do run our own social media, but I got to give a special shout out to Emily. She's like the band helper, where she definitely, she's not our manager, but she gets on all of our cases onto remember when to post and kind of keeps us accountable. And she helps a lot with the band. So if Emily listens to this, she's amazing.
Yeah,
but yeah, we run our own social media and we do our own work. And I say the biggest reason this band might have more success than the others is that we do take social media a lot more seriously than at least I ever have before. I had an attitude with the last band thinking as long as we write good music, like the numbers on social media will automatically explode, and that'll just be a byproduct of the good music.
That's what we thought too on this podcast.
We thought that too, and then we realized, we have to promote ourselves, and we talked with other podcast people, and that's exactly the number one thing they tell you to do. So
100%, and it sounds so obvious, but it's like you have to work for it. Like you can't take anything for granted. So we even go as far as anyone who follows us on Instagram, we'll send them a message. Something real simple, like, hey, it's Mike. Just want to say thanks for following us. We really appreciate it. How are you doing? So we talk to every single fan. We respond back to every single comment. And in doing so, we've really seen the numbers grow. And we've kind of built a small, I guess, wild and free community within social media. So
yeah, like we've gotten to know all these people, too. And it's really cool. Because, like, so many people live everywhere. Like, so many people from Canada. We got some people in Michigan, New York. It's crazy.
Wow.
You wouldn't talk to those people unless, like, social media was a thing, because, like, you can't just travel to Canada, like, snap your fingers and, I'm in Canada. Nope. Social media is a blessing sometimes.
Yeah. That's what I love just about music nowadays, and especially I see this more in rock music than any other genre, is, like you guys said, you're showing that you're human, you're showing that you're a part of the community, and you're making yourselves known out there, and I think that really resonates. It does for me, at least. My favorite bands are always the ones where I could go to a show and I know they'll be by the merch table after, and I can pick their brain, or I could meet them, and just see that they care about me and that I support them. It's hard for me to root for guys that are doing this and they're like, oh well, I'm off the stage. Once my set's done, I'm out because I'm too good for the fans, and they get in their blacked out car and they leave, and they don't have any time to meet anybody, because I just think they're paying your bills. They're keeping you, they're keeping your career alive, and I'm glad that you guys have that mindset from the beginning, because I think if you have that from the beginning, that sticks with you, and it shows your fans that you care, and that you're just so appreciative. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah, and I'll echo that too. I remember going to a show of your Mike. It was the Battle of the Bands. I think it was somewhere in O'Fallon, Missouri, as well. And a bunch of bands came together, and you guys had your own merch table set up. You guys were interacting with people. I mean, you guys were obviously the best ones there performing. But you didn't just say, okay, great, we performed, we're selling some stuff, and then we're taking off as well.
Yeah, give us your money.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of bands will do that too. They're just like, I'm by the table so you can give me your money.
Yeah. But, you guys were interacting with people, you guys were having a good time, drinking beers and everything. And, you actually were listening to the other bands too. And there were some other good bands that were there. And I think they appreciate, your support, and you appreciate theirs. And it's a nice little community to have within that area too. So kudos to you guys, Dan. I want to talk about what your guys' lives are, outside of the band. You guys are getting bigger by the day. You have more fans and more listeners, but it also means, more popularity and more work as well. What's it been like being a band, but also having significant others or kids or other jobs, and kind of balancing the two together?
You want to know the truth?
Absolutely. This is an unfiltered podcast, so give us the absolute 100%
give us the
truth.
dirty details.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with me, I think I always feel like I have an off day, as in I have a day that I'll go to work and then I'll be able to relax. That's what I always have in my mind. That's the perfect picture. But nope, that never happens. There's always something that has to be done. And it's not like I hate it. I love it because I love working hard for the band. I love working hard for, like, the things that we do. but it's like getting to the point that like there's so much stuff. It's constant like movement. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty exhausting. What about you, Mike? How do you feel?
Mike might have a little bit of a different answer, but
yeah, I had a kid last year.
Yeah, you're a new dad, so I can't imagine what what your schedule looks like.
Yeah, I get to hear the band complain about time, and I'm like, you don't even have a human baby that needs you. But no, I mean, Rachel's totally right. Like, it's kind of funny. It's like, of course, the moment I have my first kid, I really feel like it's when the band kind of got super busy. It's like, of course it did. You know, like, why would it happen any other time? But I think having, my first baby kind of made me more focused in a way. It's like, okay, like I gotta up my responsibility. I gotta up my sacrifice, and I gotta up my hard work, and it's go time. So if I need to make this band work, I just need to be more disciplined in every aspect of my life. So it's been really challenging, and I'm still terrible plenty of days, but I try my best to stay as focused as possible. And I mean, honestly, like whenever we do have a band day, it feels almost like a day off.
It does. It does.
Because I'm not, changing diapers or doing, my normal job where, yeah, it's hard work, but this is the work that I want to do, and it's my dream. So I never look at it as a pain in the butt, but it can definitely, you have your days where you're like, good Lord, like I just need a weekend, like luckily we've had about 2 or 3 weekends off. It's been a break. Like we played Georgia a couple weeks ago, and now we have 2 or 3 weeks. But even in our time off, we're practicing, we're writing our next music video, we're scheduling that. Social media like crazy. We got this wonderful call, which is a lot of fun. We did a conference call with Damien Keys earlier this week, so we're still staying busy. But it is nice not to be on the road.
Oh yeah. For you, I'm going to Chicago this weekend, so I'm back on the road. Yeah.
What are you doing there? What are you doing in Chicago?
Actually, being a DJ. Little fun fact about me, I'm really a crazy hardcore EDM fan.
Fun fact about me, I'm crazy.
I know, I'm pretty crazy. Like EDM as well. I'm going to see Deadmau5.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So it's going to be a crazy, fun adventure. Definitely can't complain about it because, like, I'm choosing to do this to myself. But yeah.
So are you guys looking to tour then more, or what does that look like? I mean, since you have a lot of other things going on even outside the band, I mean, is it more just pump out music videos, social media, or are you looking to add touring into the mix now too?
Not to speak for everybody, but I think where the general ideas for the band is we definitely want to be on the road more.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I'm the happiest. Well, let me rephrase that. Being in the studio is my favorite part, but I think collectively the band likes being on the road. The Georgia trip with Rehab.
That was a blast.
It was so much fun.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
that Mark, our drummer, he bit the bullet. He basically bought the band van. It's huge, was it 18 passenger or whatever it is?
Yeah,
12 passenger, I'm not sure, but it makes touring possible, and we can kind of go anywhere in the United States and play a show. So we definitely want to tour more. The Skype call that we had with marketing YouTube wizard Damien Keys is he thinks our next step is we really got to lock down a good booking agent. So we're open for that, and I think we're more excited to find a good booking agent more than anything. So definitely looking forward to hitting the road.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are definitely on the right path with it. I mean, you guys have good minds about you too. Talk to us about how it was, what it felt like to record with Damien Keys, with Matt Squire. I know, Mike, you said you were a big fan of his, and he's helped produce, major records for some major bands. What was that experience like?
Yeah, and how did you get in touch with him? I want to know that.
Yeah,
how did you just simply talk to him?
That's a complete secret.
Oh my God.
No, it's funny. You said Damien Keys, but he's just a YouTuber marketing guy, and I sent him a message on Instagram to Damien Keys saying, "Hey man, can you listen to my band? That'd be amazing." And he wrote back like in seconds. It was super nice, and he shared our music, and that was like the best hour ever. And I was freaking out, and I was buzzing. it's coming off that high of that someone that I really look up to even messaged me back on Instagram that I was like,
what else?
I wonder if this would work. So I've reached out to Matt Squire several times via email, whether it was his assistant or I think a couple other times on Instagram, but I kind of cut the BS and I sent him a paragraph of like, hey man, I'm a big fan and I've been a big fan of yours for about a decade. It would mean the world to me if you can just listen to a song. Can I please send you a link? And he wrote back and said, sure, send me a link. And I freaked out.
Yep.
I sent him Paper Cut, our latest single, and he wrote back, sounds great, we should work together.
Wow.
Which then I popped and freaked out.
You kind of died for a second.
That's
right.
incredible.
That was a dream come true, but and that was all like 2 or 3 weeks before I was having my first kid, and it all kind of seemed impossible. And we were really excited, and then we started talking to his, I guess, lawyer, and they hit us with the price, and it was impossible to do. So that
crushing your dreams.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Yeah, right.
This
We
costs
can't do
money.
it. It's way too much. Yeah, I can't believe it costs money.
Fascinating.
I
thought Ariana Grande recorded for free.
Yeah. Come on, Panic at the Disco should just do it for charity.
We're so silly that we threw that around. Like maybe he just he doesn't need the money. He sees something else, he'll do it for free.
Yeah.
No one else is
we're-
reaching out to him with their music saying, hey,
Exactly.
please listen to
Right.
this.
Oh man, it was bad. So I had a kid, and then a month passed by, and I'm not really that focused on it, and I'm thinking it's not going to happen. And then Matt responded back to us personally, like, hey guys, can we work together? And I was like, oh my God, like Matt, went directly to us. That was huge. And I said, we're trying, we're just struggling, with the money, but like, what do we need to do to make it work? And he lowered his price, and he offered us a place to stay.
Wow.
Which was super generous of him. And the price was still expensive, but doable.
That was all we needed to be like, okay, we're going to grind real hard for a couple months and figure this out.
We had a number in our head, like, we can't pay that, but if he came down to, let's say, this number, I think we could do it. And he wrote back with that number just awkwardly lined up.
Nice.
And we all had meetings about it, and we decided, let's give it a shot. And then it was just about a month ago, we flew to DC and did a single with one of our heroes, and it was the greatest thing ever.
It doesn't even feel like it's real.
It doesn't feel like it happened.
It doesn't feel like it happened. That's what I was going to say. I was like, oh my God.
And he was so nice.
The fact he reached back out, that's what fascinates me. I mean, it's amazing he paid attention at first and said, yeah, this is good. Here's my offer. The fact that he came back after, time passed, I mean, that's incredible. That really is a testament to you guys and how the quality work you do. I mean, that's awesome
he wanted
to
to work with you guys too.
And you built a connection. I mean, now he's in your corner. I mean, doesn't even matter. He worked with you once. He could definitely work with you again. So that's awesome to hear.
I can text him right now. It's so
Shoot him a text. Maybe he wants to come on Weekendology Podcast. We're happy to speak with a big guy like that too.
Right.
So you guys have obviously had some exciting things, very recently, and good start to the band as well. Want to get your take on, why do you guys think bands succeed and why they fail, and if you have any advice on new bands coming up to looking for their big break.
Well, a very big percentage of a band succeeding is obviously, why are you in it in the first place? And it has to be the love for music. It cannot be because you want to make money. It cannot be because I want people to think I'm cool. It has to be because it's something you love doing and you want to do. It has to be a passion. So once you got that, you're in the right direction. But also, going back to the ego thing, you have to be very humble with working with people. Like, everyone has a different personality. Like, people butt heads. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to, you have to keep the peace. Like, ego can't take over. What do you think, Mike? I feel like those are very strong points.
You hit on, I think, the biggest possible best answer.
The love for music.
Yeah, I would categorize that as you have to love the process. You have to love failing. You have to love losing. It's so easy for a band, and I think I'm the best at this, of just being like, oh man, once we get signed, or once we get our big break, or once we get 1 million subscribers or whatever, then I'll be happy. But that's so backwards. Like, you have to say, like, what am I doing right now that makes me happy? Like, why am I doing it in the first place? And like Rachel said, if you're not doing it because you just love it, you won't go anywhere. You have to love the process, and that's something I try to remind myself every day. Like, at the end of the day, like, there's so many things we want to improve on, but at the end of the day, like, we're writing music we love, we get to make music videos, we get to play shows, and we get to hang out with our best friends. It's like, we want to say, like, when we make it, but in our own way, we're kind of doing that right now, just on a smaller scale, and that makes us very happy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
That's a really good point, too.
I find fascinating about the entertainment industry is, and this goes in a lot of different industries, but specifically music, you got to do it again. You got to keep doing it. Look at the biggest A-list, Justin Bieber, you know, guys like that, where they are at the top of the mountain, you know, no one can touch them. They're the like pop star, whatever. And they got to keep doing it because a year will go by, and if they don't make any music or anything, there has been people don't care about them.
Ariana Grande doesn't produce the next hit single,
right? And I just bring up pop because
in a year or two,
you know, they're looked at like that's the pinnacle. They really made it. You know, they're the millionaires in music right now. But I mean, look at I always look at like Nick Lachey comes to mind, you know, or like 98 Degrees, like that kind of. I don't even like pop music, so don't take this for
Aaron
my
loves
taste.
Pop music, he can't get enough of it.
We
love it. The more bubblegum, the better. No, but like I look at that. I mean, seriously, look at like Nick Lachey. They lost traction. I don't know if he probably kept making some kind of music, but they didn't do what someone like Justin Timberlake did, where he kept that momentum going. He evolved. He changed. He kept doing something bigger and better, and he didn't stop, and it kept him on top. Whereas, I mean, you know, rap music, same thing. These guys, they get stuck. I think of Lil Jon. These guys get stuck in like 2003, and you think of them in that era or whatever, you know. And then you have other guys like Snoop Dogg, where he's still A-list. He still can he can still at least go gold, putting out any album he wants, or Eminem, or guys like that. You know, they're not stuck in a time period. So.
I think they've naturally evolved over time, and they've realized, you know, I got to change not only the type of music that I do, but my branding as well, and it goes along with it too.
And have that passion, that want to I need to keep this going. I want to do it again, and kind of, you know, letting that addiction feed them of
exactly.
I want to keep doing this instead of just sitting back and saying, oh, no, we did well. We produced with Matt Squire. Oh, we're good. Like now, you guys want to tour. You guys want to, you know, add more to your plate. You guys want to do music videos every, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just crazy stuff like that. And that's great to hear. And I think that's why you guys coming out of St. Louis, like the Midwest, not a huge hotbed for music, at least, you know, nationally. I think that's why you guys are so successful. Just from an outsider and a music fan looking in, that's the key that I'm seeing is you guys are pushing with that. One thing
that's flattering. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh no problem. I mean, one thing that I've always wondered with female fronted bands, and I always hate it. And I'm sure you've gotten this a million times. They always get compared to Paramore.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know, right? Tell me, like, how do you get, I know you guys do every single day. How do you get away from that and separate yourself and prove to people we're a female fronted band, but we're a rock band. We're bigger than that. And ultimately we're not Paramore. I'm not Haley Williams. How do you do that?
I mean, it's all about being authentic. So, you know, like I tend to have a different sounding voice-ish, in my opinion. And then also just like our music, it's different. Like for example, Paper Cut, that song has so many layers. If you just sat and you listen to it a couple times, you just hear something different every time. It's just being authentic in general, like proving that you're somebody else one step at a time.
And past that, being compared to Paramore,
and that's
is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not really a bad thing in and of its own right.
Oh, but you're like Paramore. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
because
totally.
I love Paramore. I love Haley Williams.
So you're absolutely right. Like being a rock band with a female fronted singer, like we get it all the time. But every time we get it, I never, see it as a negative. Like, it's the most flattering thing ever. I think it's one of Rachel's favorite bands.
Yeah.
If not her favorite band, it's my wife's favorite band. So, like, whenever people say, like, hey, you sound like one of your favorite bands, I'm never like, oh, you jerk. Like,
how dare you say that?
Yeah. And Paramore, they were so diverse, too. I think they're one of the bands where a lot of the records, like every record that came out sounded different than the last, especially, further along in their career they got. So there's someone to look up to, as big as they were, and they weren't scared to experiment, especially after Laughter. They got so weird in the best way. So yeah, when we look up to that band, so we love that compliment.
I never thought you'd say that.
There you go.
That's incredible. Because just bands, like female fronted bands, and I'm a fan of, and like I said, I'm not a music guy, so where my opinion doesn't go very far here, but I always got like offended as a fan of these other bands. I'm like, no, they're not like Paramore, like they're, themselves. They're different. They're, and I just didn't like the kind of lumping in, and trying to make a band just all the same, because
something
to me
that they weren't. Yeah.
Well, yeah, something they weren't, but also just trying to make everyone the same, because okay, it's a female fronted band, but look at every band is so different. They write differently, they play differently, they tour differently, their members are different. I think they're like snowflakes. Every band is different. Even if it is a similar style, it's still, you got to look at it musically and from so many other ways. But no, I'm glad that you guys like that comparison then.
Well, it's a testament to how you guys' style is shifting and evolving over time too. And you guys have lots of great music before. Give us a glimpse as to what's coming next for the Wild and Free. What's the future of your projects, and do you have anything coming up that you like to share?
Yeah, well, we've been working on this album that most of it is already out already, just as we've been doing these singles. But our album is called Fight Back, and it will be dropping early this summer. So the collection is releasing. We're going to print it, put it in one spot, and release that this summer. So we've been working towards that for a year and a half now of writing and recording and doing videos. So we're very excited to kind of put this chapter of the band to an end.
Yeah.
After that, we have plans to go back in the studio to work on a little something. It's not going to be a next record, but a little fun kind of cap to the last record. It'll make sense once that gets announced, but we'll be back in the studio working on, let's just say, Fight Back.
The sprinkles on your cupcake.
The sprinkles on your cupcake
Nice.
of Fight Back.
I love it.
And that'll be released shortly or announced shortly. And then after that, I think the plan is just to work on album 2. I think this isn't any news, but the single that we worked with Matt Squire, that'll probably be the first single off our second record. So we're already working on the second record. We're already writing for it. So
what is that one called?
It is unannounced.
Yeah,
that is a secret. So,
okay.
We do have a title for it. We're unsure when we're going to release it. It'll probably be this year, most likely. It should be. And we're already writing on album 2, and right now we have some material that's going to carry us into 2021. So we can't wait to start releasing everything.
Planning ahead.
You guys got a tour now. You guys got to come down to Dallas.
Come down to Dallas. We'd love to have you here.
Yeah, that needs to happen. I mean, we'd love to come down to Dallas, and I think you guys are right. Like, we finished the record. We're not tired of writing, but I think we're kind of tired of staring at computer screens in the studio, and we want to see some people.
I mean, like, touring is fun. I think of it as many vacations. Also, I think of it as how many places can I go that I've never been. For example, Georgia, first time I've ever been there this month, and it was awesome.
It was cool.
It was a great time. It's experience. It's almost like a little culture shock everywhere we go. Like, people are different, like different accents. It's pretty great.
That's
like
awesome.
Midwesterners, I guess they say "ope." Like, I don't know. I say "ope" all the time. Like, you bump into somebody instead of saying sorry or excuse me, you say "ope." I happen to say that in Georgia, and some look at me like, And I was just like, huh? It was a little odd of a moment, but like, I don't know, just touring is great because you get to discover like new things and just.
That's cool.
I don't know. I'm traveling.
That's awesome.
So we will tour soon. Rolling out it eventually.
We're more than happy to have you guys down here in Dallas. One question before we wrap up here. Where did the name Wild and Free come from? How did that come to fruition?
So this band struggled so hard to find a band name. We were trying. Our first single was The Upside Down that we were trying to line up with the release of Stranger Things Season 2.
Awesome music video, by the way. Loved it.
Thank you so much. That video took, that was like a 3-day shoot. Oh, most expensive, craziest video I think we've ever done. So we started off putting way too much effort into it. But we were trying to release our first single with that second season of Stranger Things. So we needed, obviously, a band name before we released it. And we just could not land on one. We were almost called Karaoke Kids, which we hated.
I don't know about that.
It was our manager at the time was like, you should be called Karaoke Kids. And we're like, maybe not.
Just don't throw kids in the band.
Yeah.
I feel like that's bad.
I mean, there's been worse names, but that I will say my all-time favorite is Eddie and the Munsters, a local St. Louis band.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. It's better than the Butthole Surfers, but it wasn't, it wasn't great. And then we were almost called Ready, Set, Go.
Yeah.
That was like confirmed for like a full day. Like, all right, we're going to go with the Ready, Set, Go. That's the band name, which I still like how that sounds. I think it's got a nice ring to it. But
when you think of the summer set, the Ready, Set.
Okay, Go.
Like, go.
It sounded like 3 band names all at once. And we're like, that's not quite it. And Rachel kept joking with the chocolate-covered strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, every time it was basically writer's block to come up with this band name. Every time we were struggling and we were about to have like little mental breakdowns, I'm like, guess we're going to call ourselves the chocolate-covered strawberries. And obviously that's a joke because never once did that cross my mind that, that's what I really want. I never, ever thought that was going to be a thing. But I just threw it around so many times. I was like getting desperate. I was like, honestly, maybe we just need to do this. Like, it was a lot.
She joked about it so much. I'm like, I swear if this becomes our band name, I'm going to lose it.
You should have made demo merch with that on it, and that way, like, you could have worn that to a show.
Chocolate-covered straw.
Yeah, that could be like the limited edition merchandise.
We were almost called Nightlight, so we were throwing a bunch of names around, and then one night I was just by myself watching TV, thinking about music that I loved. A band that Matt Squire actually recorded was called A Rocket to the Moon, and Dan and myself, that's like the band we kind of first bonded over when we decided we wanted to write music together. And their second record was called Wild and Free. I don't remember if I thought of that first or if the name just popped in my head first, but I definitely looked at their second record to reference if it was called Wild or Free or The Wild and Free, because I once named the band The Wild and Free, and their record was called Wild and Free, so I thought it was at least a little different. But yeah, I thought the Wild and Free fit perfectly because we kind of incorporate pop music with rock and roll, and Rachel being the club goer, dancer, wild child. I thought the wild, encapsulated her lifestyle, and the free kind of encapsulated the rock style of the guys in the group. So together, it seemed like it fit really nicely. And I called Dan and called Rachel, and we all talked about it in the studio. About a week maybe before, or about a month before we released the single, and everyone liked it, so it stuck.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for being on an episode of the Weekendology Podcast. You guys are
a lot of fun.
Welcome
Very
back.
Flattering podcast.
Yeah, you guys are welcome back anytime.
We'll have to do a live recording one of these days. At the end of the episode, you guys will have to record a song.
Please do. Yeah, We love to be back. This was so much fun.
Absolutely. Well, if you liked hearing what Mike and Rachel had to say on this episode, feel free to continue the conversation down below. Hit us up on Twitter and YouTube and all of our social medias to let us know your thoughts. Be sure to check out The Wild and Free on all of their major social media and streaming sites. They're on Facebook at The Wild and Free, Twitter at The Wild Free Band, Instagram at The Wild and Free Band. They're on Spotify, YouTube as well. Go search them up. We're on Twitter on Weekendology Pod. You can check us out on YouTube at Weekendology Podcast as well. And we want to hear from you guys. If you have any topics or ideas that you want us to cover in our next episodes, feel free to shoot us a line down below as well. We've got new episodes every Friday, so until then, we'll see you guys next week.